Hi guys, this is Adam with another Duel of Legends video. Today we're going to talk about the spell cards and what we've changed, what we've added. So the first thing I want to talk about with spells is the reclassification of what kind of spell types there are. We originally had 4 spell types. There were instants, interrupts, permanents, and enchantments. We consolidated some of those. The instants and interrupts are now just incantations, and they say on the card when they can be cast. That was really the only thing that made those different. Is interrupts you could play when it wasn't your turn. So now we just put that description on the card when it can be played. The permanents we changed to magical wards. Basically, the idea behind it was instead of making it where you can put down cards that are permanents that stay on the board, we made it where you can just have one magical ward on your player at one time. So if somebody has a magical ward on their down on the board, you can cast another magical ward on them, and it'll cancel the one that they have, and they get the one that you put on them. Or same goes for yourself. If somebody puts a negative magical ward on you, you can replace that with a positive one. So it's kind of like a slot that you have on your player for a magical ward. Mark of Death is an example of one. It works the same as it did before as a permanent, that it causes 2 extra spell damage to all spells that hurt you, but it's a magical ward now. So you can either have this, or you could have what used to be Life Ward, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So the cards that didn't get many changes, we'll go through those real quick, and there were slight changes on some of these, so we'll go through them real quick. Heal Wounds, pretty much the same. Gain 5 health, and remove all bleed counters. I actually don't think we've changed anything on this one, just change it to an incantation. So you have to use that on your turn. Drain Life is the same. We did a little bit of revision to the description of it to make it a little more clear that it is unblockable from defense items, and you gain the amount of health that of the amount of damage that was dealt. So it's, even though it just does 3 damage, if that's amplified by any other cards, you gain that much life back. Now I want to talk about the cards that we did a lot of changes to. We'll start off with Mind Spike and Force Field. These were the cards that were interrupts and instants at the same time. Now they're just incantations, and we say clearly on the card, nullify effects of any spell. Mind Spike must be cast directly after the target spell and does not count as an action. So it clearly states on the description how the card is played and when you can play it. Force Field says, nullify all damage targeting you until next turn. Force Field may be cast at any time. So we just made that a little clearer so it's easier to understand. The next 2 cards we kind of revised just a little bit. It's Fireball and Lightning Bolt. They kind of work the same now. Instead of Fireball just being 10 damage out of the gate, it now works kind of like Lightning Bolt did, where if you block with a leather or wooden item, it has that extra 5 damage. So it's only 5 damage by itself, and it's extra 5 if you block with those material type cards. Lightning Bolt is the same. The only real change is now it's only if you block with that item. Before it was if you had a metal item in your possession. Now it's only if you block with that item does it add the extra 5 points. We felt like those were a little too powerful before with 10 damage taking basically half your life, so we nerfed those down just a little bit. Next one is Mana Void. This used to be Life Ward. We decided to change the name of it so that it made a little bit more sense to how it's blocking spell damage and not necessarily healing you. So now this is a magical ward, and it used to be a permanent. So this is kind of the counter to Mark of Death. The next card is a card we completely changed, one that we got feedback on that seemed useless before, and that was All-Seeing Eye. So we changed it to Eye of Judgment. Now this card allows you to look at your opponent's hand and take a card out of his hand and make him discard it. Now it's a little bit more effective and actually has something to do instead of just being able to look at other people's cards. So this actually got a lot of feedback from our playtesting at MagicCon, and people really like the change on this one. It's a lot more effective, and it's used a lot more. So these next 2 cards kind of got combined. The first one is Corrosion. It used to be Corrode Weapon or Corrode, this one was Corrode Armor. Those were two cards that we felt like could just be summed up into one card. So now basically this can affect a weapon or defense card, and it lowers its rating by 3. That gave us space that we could add another card. This is now just corrosion instead of corrode armor. And just like with that, with corrosion, this is enchant item. So this actually works for weapons and defense cards. You can enchant it to increase either attack or defense rating by 2. We combine those two cards to be one card. And that gave us room to create 2 new cards that we could use artwork that we already had and just create a new card and give it a new function. One of the things that we felt like was lacking was the ability to get more defense cards. You know, we have reconstruction, but that was pretty much the only way to get your broken item back. So the new card that we added was ethereal armor. This basically lets you pull a defense card and put it in play, and its defense is half and it becomes ethereal, but it's an opportunity to get a second defense card if you already have one and you pull this card. So you can get 2 defenses, or you can just get one back without reconstruction with this card. One note about ethereal armor is you can't exchange this item for a new item. It's basically an enchanted item at that point that can't be exchanged. That's part of the alternate, the supplemental rules that we'll add, that item can't be exchanged. The last card that we added was Purification. We took Corrode Weapon and spiced up the artwork a little bit so that it looks more like you're enchanting the item. This Purification actually is the reverse of an enchantment. It takes all the enchantments off of that card. So whether you got negative enchantments on one of your weapons or items, you can take those off. Or if somebody has positive stuff on theirs, you can cast it on theirs and get rid of their positive effects. So it felt like this was a good, leveling the playing field a little bit card. So that's all the new cards and changes for the spells. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure you sign up for that newsletter. We're going to have a lot of cool stuff coming out for that. Until then, I'm Adam Dice, and stay legendary.